in real time. Welcome back. I am super excited for those of you who have been on this series since the beginning, and then those of you who are joining for the first time, welcome. Bambi, what's up, sister? It's so good to see you. It's so good to see you. All right, I'm like trying to get everything organized here and put together. Mustafa, welcome. How are you? I've seen you on here a few times. I'm so glad you're here. Guys, I got to tell you, y'all are going to laugh at me. I try to keep it high vibe for you on these trainings. And so I'm big on dressing up during the day, even though I work from home, just so I can bring the best to my clients and also just feel good myself while I do these. And right now I'm currently, I'm in mom life. So some of you may relate to this, some of you may not, but around 3 o'clock at the latest, I ramp down for the afternoon and go into mom mode and then pick back up working. Some nights I'm actually working to phase out how much I work during the day. But so I like I said, I try to keep it high vibe so I can come on to these trainings and be high vibe for you at the end of the night. And this afternoon, while I was on mom mode, it was like a tornado hit. Literally he scrapes my chin and I'm bleeding on my skin, bleeding on my chin. And then I'm trying to wash my hands after taking him out to the park. And literally the soap shoots from the soap dispenser into my eyeball. It couldn't have been a more direct shot if it tried. And so my eye's still burning. This is hours ago. My right eye is still burning from having this soap shoot right in it. So we got to just laugh about stuff though, and not take it too seriously. So you guys get me tonight with my eye burning and sweatshirt, and we're just doing the thing. We are doing the thing. You are here. I am so glad you are here. David, you're here. It's so good to see you. Yeah, ouch. I know. My mind goes to what's the metaphysical meaning of this, which is sometimes things just happen. They just happen. So, all right, for those of you who are joining live, and again, welcome. If this is your first night joining the series, I'm so glad you're here. If you've been here from the start, welcome back. I missed you guys over the weekend. So glad for tonight. I am sharing one of my favorite processes tonight. So this is a really good one, especially if you're wanting to make what you want to come in faster into your life and let it be fun while you do it too. So it's a really fun process. I just want to start with asking you all a question. So if you are honest, and just type in the chat, whatever the honest answer is, if you're being honest, then how much time are you spending watching Netflix or movies every week? Is it not a lot? Is it an hour? Is it 30 minutes? Is it 2 hours? Let me know. Just again, there's zero judgment here. I used to be a no TV kind of girl. I'm I watch it sometimes. So there's no judgment here, but I'm just curious, do a check-in with yourself. And then if you feel like you want to share, type it in the chat. How much time do you spend every day or night watching movies, Netflix, whatever? Jan says 0. All right. Well, Jan, you get a gold star, my friend. That's dedication. Okay. That's awesome. And again, there's no right or wrong here. So I used to watch a ton. I don't watch that much anymore, but I still watch some. David's saying too much, both watching as well as having background noise. Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that. And I would say probably most people who are watching this, if they're honest, people could say yeah, I'm with you there. Bambi's saying I don't, but my other half does. So I may some in the evening while I read or crochet or work. Okay, great. So again, there's no right or wrong. It's just a check-in on what it is. Bruce is saying 1 to 1.5 hours. Okay. So here's my question, and here's where I want to invite you to shift your thinking a little bit, is what if you knew that by putting that same amount of time and attention into realizing that you could literally be the director of your own movie and then acting as such, that you could literally create any type of life you want? Would it be worth it for you to start to shift some, I'm not even saying all of it, but start to shift some of that time and energy into acting as if you were the director of your own movie? So would it be worth it? Just for those of you who are here live, type in the chat. Let me know if that's yeah, actually that would really be worth it. And I used to go through life. I don't know if any of you guys can relate to this. I used to go through life just accepting whatever came my way, because I didn't actually realize how much power I had to create my own life experience. And I work with a lot of clients now who say the same thing, where they're like, well, is it actually worth it to put the effort in to try to like visualize and think about what I want? Because does it actually make a difference? So if that is a thought that shows up in your mind, then that's okay. There's zero judgment here. It's more about just having awareness of where your head is at and where your mindset is at. But the process that we're talking about tonight is one of my favorites, because when you realize that you can literally create whatever outcome you want in your life by starting to think about yourself as the director of your own movie, it gets really exciting. It gets really exciting. And you might also decide you want to shift. If you are someone who's like consuming a lot of media and content and just entertainment right now, you might decide it's worth it to start shifting some of that time and energy, because a lot of times we watch other people's stuff because we want that adrenaline rush. Like we want to live vicariously, right? Like one of my clients just sent me, she just moved into this amazing new condo and sent me a video of it. It's like her dream condo. And I, like, as I watched the video of her, I was like, oh, I want to live vicariously through this new condo that you just bought. This thing is fabulous. But we have to remember that you have the power to create whatever reality and outcome you want in your life. And it's by starting to, one, realize how powerful you are, and two, step into that role of the director, where you're not like that time and energy and effort that you might spend consuming other content or other people's life, even if it's on social media. Like I didn't even throw that one out there at the beginning, but think about how often are you just getting sucked into social media, watching other people's stories and other people's lives. And I don't know about you, but that never makes me feel better about my life, right? Like watching other people's highlight reels never makes me feel good about, having a mom moment and squirting soap in my eyeball and getting a bloody chin this afternoon. Like that's some of the stuff that you see people sharing on social media. So how often are you paying attention to other people's movies versus your own, right? So the process we're using tonight is so much fun. And it works. Like I've used this one for a while now and I love it. So if you're following along with the series, then it's process number 9. And if you're brand new, let me give you a little bit of context. So we are going through this book this month in April, and it's Given by Abraham Hicks. And so there's a free companion guide that I made for you that goes with this, which you can get at elisearcher.com/resistance. So definitely download that so you can follow along. It's totally free. David is saying other people's best lives ever. Exactly. It's like the highlight reel, right? That we can get sucked into it. I don't know about you guys, but I can get sucked into it where it's like, oh, well, she's got the most amazing life ever, or he's got the most amazing life ever. But you're seeing this much. We all know, like if you check in, it's just their highlight reel. But a lot of times, like I notice, especially if I'm feeling down or feeling like bad about something, that's when I'm more susceptible to go in and check on social media and just kind of like get sucked in and zone out and live vicariously through other people's experiences. Like how often do we do that? So tonight, this is really about a mindset shift where you start to take your power back and stop putting so much attention and energy on watching other people's stories, whether that's social media, whether that's your, Netflix, TV, whatever, and you start putting that same energy and attention into creating your own best life ever that you then get to live out, because you're the only one who actually has to live out your life, right? So you might as well make it good. Vicky, how are you? Oh my gosh, it's so good to see you here. I'm thrilled that you're here. Welcome. So let's talk about this. So this is process number 9, scripting. And so I'm going to read a little more at the beginning of this one, because I think they explain it better than I can for like the first little bit, and then we'll get into conversation about it. But I'm just curious too, have any of you done this one? Like if you guys are reading along, I know some of you bought the book and you're following along. Have any of you actually tried this process yet? And if so, what have your results been? So let me know in the comments while I read. So when to use this process. Here's when you would use scripting to help release resistance to what you want. Because again, if you've been following along, your resistance to the thing you want is the only thing that's holding you back from getting it. Okay, Bambi's saying not me. Okay, you're going to love this one. This one is really fun. So when you're feeling good, here's when you use it. When you're feeling good and want to add specifics to what you're creating in your life experience. Number 2, when you want the thrill of identifying and writing down things you would like to experience and then seeing the universe deliver to you the details that you described. Or number 3, when you want to consciously experience the power of your specifically focused thought. So in general, you want to use this one when you're feeling pretty good, and then when you want to bring in the thing that you want faster. So your emotional set point range for this one, and again, this is where you want that free companion guide that I made so all this stuff makes sense. So you can get it at elisearcher.com/resistance if you're just joining in now. But your emotional set point range would be between a 2 and a 6. So a 2, so a lot of the ones we've talked about so far have applied if you're like peak emotion, like gratitude, right? Appreciation. This one you can be a little lower. So this one is really more for when you're feeling passion. So this is like number 2, which is passion, all the way down to number 6, which is hopefulness. So we are going to talk tonight about getting more specific. This whole process is designed to help you get more specific with what you want. And if you've been following along, you've been following Abraham Hicks for any amount of time, or you've followed my training here, then you know that when you're feeling good, that's when you want to get more specific about what you want. And when you're not feeling good, so when you're at a lower vibrational range, that's actually not the time to get more specific, because you're just going to put that energy and momentum into whatever it is you want. So if you find yourself at a lower emotional set point, that's okay. It's just not the time to use this process. There are other processes later on in the book that we'll cover later on this month that are better suited for that. But right now, this is like you're feeling good and you want to milk that, and you want to bring the thing in that you want faster. That makes sense. Adri, how are you? Oh, I just love seeing who hops onto these. This is so fun. So I'm going to read to you, this will take like 2 minutes. I'm going to read to you the description of when and how to use this, and I'm going to share some of my thoughts with it. And I'm really excited to see whatever your questions are, or whatever your thoughts are in the comments. So, excuse me. Okay. Esther turned on the so if you guys know Abraham Hicks, Esther's like this woman who basically channels Abraham. I thought it was way out there when I first started following, and then the more you listen, the more it actually makes sense. So we just have fun with it. If nothing else, the processes work. Have fun with it. So Esther turned on the television one evening and found herself immediately captivated by a movie that was well underway by the time she found it. In this movie, a seemingly unsuccessful scriptwriter was just discovering that his typewriter seemed to be magical. So we're going way back with the typewriter. Each day, after he had described the scenes and written the words that the actors would speak, these same things would then come to pass in his own experience. And so, if a situation was not going the way he wanted it to, he went to his typewriter and wrote an improved version, and the scenario would then play out in his life experience. How fun is that? As Esther watched the movie, we said to her, so this is Abraham speaking to Esther, that is really the way it always works. As you focus clearly upon things you desire and hold no contradictory vibration that causes resistance, whatever you desire must be. So I want to say that one more time because I think this is important. As you focus clearly upon things you desire and hold no contradictory vibration that causes resistance, whatever you desire must be. For when you ask, it is always given every time with no exceptions. Isn't that amazing? If something that you desire is not coming, it can only be that you are not allowing it to come because of the thoughts that you practice that are contrary to your own desire. Nothing else prohibits you from realizing every dream. That's what this whole series is about, right? Final bit. So this is how the scripting process works. Pretend that you are a writer and that whatever you write will be performed exactly as you write it. Your only job is to describe in detail everything exactly as you want it to be. That's it. And isn't that the essence of what we're talking about here too? That it's the essence of this book, and it's the essence of manifestation. It's the essence of everything. Is the moment you ask, it's done. It's already done. And the way you ask is by having the thought that you want something. And the only reason, and here's too, where like I've just had a lot of conversations with clients today about contrast. And when you go for something and then it seems like everything's going wrong, or like stuff kind of falls apart, what does that mean? Contrast is always helping you clarify what you're asking for. So contrast is just when it feels bad. Wow, there's something crazy going on with my hair in the background. Like contrast is just when it doesn't feel good. Contrast is the stuff that feels like it sucks. Like I had a bunch of contrast last week. I had some, I mean, I'm in open books. I'll share with you guys, like my husband and I had an argument about something. And then I had like a bunch of stuff where I was like, oh my God, I need more help with team at work. And it was contrast because it helped me sharpen and refine my desires. One, which was for my family, it was like, okay, we need to get out of town. Like if we're bickering, if we're doing this low level stuff, we need to get out of town. We've been on a vacation for a long time. So we went out of town this weekend. And if we had not had that contrast earlier in the week, it would not have inspired me to say, we got to get our butts out of town. Or, if I hadn't had the contrast with team and with feeling like I had not that my team's not amazing, but it's just more work than they can handle right now, which told me we need more people in here. If I had not felt that contrast of like, oh my gosh, I need more help, it wouldn't have inspired me to go out and hire new team members last week. So this is a bit of a deviation, but it's been coming up a lot lately. So I just want to share with you, like the contrast is never bad. It's always one of two things happening. Either you're refining and sharpening what you want, and that the only way we do that is by contrast, because the only way you know what you want is by experiencing what you don't want. That's it. Or you're experiencing the coming into fruition, the manifestation of what you do want. That's it. It's one of two things always. So it's really simple. And so we can, I think, maybe be a little more relaxed about the whole process and know too that when you decide you want something more, you will experience more contrast to help you refine that desire. So hopefully, again, that I trust that comes up because someone needed to hear that. So here's what in the world was I just went off on a tangent. Okay, so we talked about, guys, you get me at 8 o'clock at night. You don't know what you're going to get when it's past grandma's bedtime. Okay. But this is how it works. So the contrast helps you clarify the desire. So how do you actually do this? Really, basically, again, you want to think about yourself like you're directing your own movie. That's it. Okay, Instagram, my phone's telling me low battery. We're going to make it through tonight, phone. We're not available for this phone to die tonight. I promise you this is going to work. Okay. So essentially you think about like you're directing a movie. It's that simple. You identify yourself as the main character, and then you identify the other main characters in the scenario, and then you write out the plot and you get as specific as you can with the plot. So let's say like I will do this before I do a webinar or a masterclass, right? And I'll write out specifically what do I want as if I was directing a play, as if it wasn't me. And sometimes taking yourself out of the scenario is actually really helpful when you're looking to create something new, because it's almost like you have a paradigm of what's true for you, what's not, what's easy for you, what's not, which is based upon your subconscious programming and conditioning that you've received as a child and as you've grown up. So sometimes it's helpful to be able to put yourself in the mindset of like somebody else. Like if this was somebody else's life, if this was somebody else's career, if it was somebody else's bank account, if it was somebody else's sales process, like what would happen with it? How would they show up? What would the situation be? Because we can remove some of that resistance, because we can step out of the limiting beliefs when we think about it almost as if we're like directing a play for somebody else. But make yourself the main character. And it does say in the book, like actually writing it out is the most powerful mind-body connection. So you would want to write it out at least once, but script it in vivid detail. So I've got a Google, and you can do it. It's actually more effective if you like write it. But sometimes for me, for speed, because I get really loquacious, as you guys can no doubt tell, like typing is faster, but write it out in vivid detail, the whole plot, like the whole scene that you're wanting to live out. So let's say, hey, Jamie, how are you? So let's say, like, for example, let's just say, okay, so some of my clients are looking to leave their main job and go into like creating their own business. And not every client is, everyone's different, but this is just the example that's coming to mind right now. Let's say that you're wanting to use this process for that. You would write in vivid detail, what is the scene, what is the scenario where you are actually making that transition? So Where are you? What are you wearing? What are you saying? Who are the other characters? And how is it going? How is it going for you? And write it out exactly as you want it. And so what happens, there's two key benefits to this that are going to help you release resistance to that thing that you want. Number one is it's going to help you get more specific focus around what you want. Again, you use this process when you're feeling pretty good, like when you're already in that place of feeling good, you feel relatively little resistance, you're somewhere between passion and hopefulness, and you want to start to speed up that manifestation. So it's going to help you get more specific focus around what you want. And what happens is the longer you focus on that thing and the more you fall in love with it and the more detail you give it, the more energy you give to it. But from a neurological standpoint, it's simply that we've got to give our subconscious really, like, we need to be very specific with what we want and what we visualize. And I think this is one of the problems a lot of people run into. And I used to not really visualize or not go for it because I would be afraid of, like, well, what if I go really detailed and specific and nothing happens? You know, can any of you relate to that in terms of like limiting beliefs around visualization? And so I had a lot of resistance around it, but I can just tell you guys from like my own experience and from a lot of people who have used these processes powerfully, when the more specific you get, and when you do it knowing that when you feel good, use this process when you're feeling good, not when you're feeling bad, but when you start to visualize and get specific when you're feeling good, it does come in, it must. Because you always create twice, first in your mind, then in your physical world. Okay. But so the more specific, the better. And I've shared this story before, but I think it's funny / it's also a good example. You want to be specific with the instructions that you're giving to your subconscious, to the universe, to those, they really work in tandem and in harmony. Because if you say, I want more money, you'll be like one of my clients who said, I want more money. And she woke up and found a bunch of dimes in her gutter. Like, you say, I want more money, you'll step outside and you'll find a penny, and you got more money. But the problem is just that we're not specific enough. So the way you want to think about it is you can have anything you want. Literally, this world is your playground. It is your oyster. You are a creator. You have come here to learn how to powerfully create and how to have fun and enjoy the process. It really gets to be like that for you. So more often than not, we ask for this much because we think that's all we can get. So then that's what you get. Or you get not even that because you didn't even really ask for it because you were too afraid you were going to ask for it when it happened. So you just kind of like vaguely asked, right? Raising my hand because that was 100% me for so long. The more specific, you have to give your subconscious something specific to focus on, which is why when I'm working with my clients, a lot of them are looking to bring in a certain amount of money. We need to create a specific dollar amount that you're going for. Now, the timing, the only thing that you don't get to control with this is the timeline. So when you're setting a goal, you want to get really specific on what's the thing that you're looking to create. Like if it's money, for example, how much, just pick how much. You want $100, you want 100,000, you want 100 million. If someone else has done it, you can do it too. That's it. We go back to the Einstein quote. Everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. Match the frequency of the reality you want, and it must become yours. It can be no other way. This is not philosophy. This is physics. So, and that was a rough translation. It's a little different what he says, but that's basically it. Okay. So we're just playing with energy here. We're just using physics. We're just using science. Now, depending on the size of the jump. So let's say you go from, you've been bringing in like $5,000 a month and you want to go to $200,000 a month. You can 100% do it. If it exists, you can do it. You simply need to know that depending on how much resistance you feel around that thing, that's what's going to determine how long it takes. So just kind of, if we can relax about the time frame on this and use the scripting process to help create positive momentum around it and start living into it in your mind first, then by the time, like when you do this enough, like I've got a goal right now that I'm living into that I don't know how it's going to happen. Like it's a decent sized leap financially, and the primary goal is actually reducing time spent working so I can spend more time with my family and my son. And I don't know fully how it's all going to happen yet, but when I look at that, like that's what I've got written on my goal card right now. And when I look at it, I just start thinking, like I start visualizing and thinking about like, what is that like? And when I, for a person who does work only 10 hours a week, like, what is that like? And if I had like 8 hours a day to hang out with my son, what would we do? And if I had that time today to hang out with him, what would we be doing? And I can feel that like that momentum growing as I start to get more and more specific about this desire. So I haven't used this specific scripting process yet for this desire, but I'm going to, because I'm in a place right now, I feel good energetically about the goal and have no idea how it's going to happen. And that doesn't matter, right? You don't worry about the how. The how reveals itself as you get closer and closer to the frequency of the thing you want, which is by thinking specific thoughts about it and feeling the feeling of gratitude that you're going to feel when it happens. The how starts to be revealed. But so anyway, coming back to what this is all about, that scripting process is used to help you give more and more specifics to your subconscious, because you have to give that specific so that your subconscious can start to be on the lookout for opportunities, people, events to help make that thing your reality. So I'm just checking. Hey, Elizabeth, how are you? Consciously Glamorous. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. I'm just checking comments right now on LinkedIn. Janine, I so appreciate Abraham Hicks. Yes, I'll download your guide. Yes, please download the guide. I love you, Janine. I feel like just knowing you, this is probably right up your alley, and I love seeing you here. It makes me so happy. Chip, welcome. Yes, go Heels. Jeremy Todd, you're the best. I love that you're here. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here, my friend. Okay, so hopefully you guys can appreciate the rambling. I trust that since you've hung on this long, the rambling is somewhat making sense. Two benefits. And please pop questions in the comments. Like, whatever questions you have, if there's something specific you're looking to create in your life, in your business, I'd love to help coach you on it. So feel free to pop it in the comments. But the benefits, number one, you're focusing on it, you're getting specific. And so you're going to get energy moving faster around this thing. The second benefit is it releases your resistance around it because you're kind of just pretending about it. So when you think about it that way, and that's kind of like I was saying before, like if you can almost think about if this was somebody else, like again, you're directing a movie, but you're the main player, but it's kind of you in a different world. You release the resistance around it. And remember that resistance, which is like limiting beliefs of, I can't have that, that's too much, that's not mine, whatever. That's the thing that's blocking you from it. So it helps you release that resistance from that thing coming in and being your reality. Bambi saying, random as I wrote myself a letter today dated June 1st, as if what I desire is happening now. That's it. Yes, that's it. That's it. That's it. That's it. I love that. Yeah. And that's one of the first things that I have, my clients do. That's like, a lot of us, like, ask yourself, when is the last time you just wrote down what you want? Like, when is the time you just sat there and took any sort of limitations off and took any sort of limits off, but just wrote out what you want? And I think for a lot of people, it's been so long since you thought about what you actually want that if you sat down, you wouldn't know, right? Like, if you were real with yourself. But the first step is you got to get clear on what you want. And you have to know and trust that if you want it, it is meant for you. Whatever you want wants you back. Because remembering, and this is where like I will share my own spiritual beliefs. And if your own path is yours here, so I so honor whatever your belief system is. This is the belief system that has served me, that I truly believe. You are God, you are spirit, you are source, experiencing itself as human form. And because God, universe, spirit is always expanding, you are also wired for expansion. And so that whatever that thing is that feels expansive to you wants you back. Okay? So that we make ourselves wrong. And this is where you can create resistance around what you want, is by making yourself wrong for wanting more. But you have to know that that desire that you have for more is God, universe, source, wanting fuller expression of life through you, wanting to experience itself, himself, herself through you. And so when you can stop making yourself wrong for it and start realizing that that's actually how we are wired, we live in an expanding universe. You are meant to expand. Your desires are meant to expand. And that's why when you reach a certain level of experience, like a certain level of income or you reach that thing in your life that you're like, oh, when I can just have this, then I'm good for life, right? Like how many things in your life have you said, when I just make that much money, or when I just get that relationship, or when I just have that level of health, then I'll be satisfied for life, right? Give me some hearts, you guys who are here live. Like, let me know if you have had that thought and then you have it and you're satisfied for like 5 minutes, 5 hours, maybe 5 days. Thank you for the hearts. Yeah. And then you want more. And what happens is you're taught that there's something wrong with you because you want more. And what I'm here to tell you tonight is that there's nothing wrong with you. That it is just you living out the way you were wired, the way you were created. And that expression of wanting more is simply your expression and God's desire for fuller life experience through you. That's it. So stop making yourself wrong for it. And notice when you stop making yourself wrong for it, how much resistance you release and how you allow that thing in more, because you get to enjoy that. Like being here, this whole series, and I so love and appreciate for anyone who's here live or watching the replay, I just so love and appreciate getting to have this conversation with you, because when you can start to think of yourself more as here to create and here to create your own most beautiful life experience, because again, you're the one who's got to live your life, right? Like you're the one who's got to live it. So what if you decided to create your dream life? What if you decided, the thing that's fun for me to think about is, what would it look like if I created heaven on earth for myself? What would that look like? And I get chills now, I've been thinking about it, because you can, you get to create that for yourself. And so when you use this scripting process, write it out as if heaven on earth was happening for you. What would that be? And allow your imagination to soar and allow yourself to have fun with it and allow yourself to think about as if you were the actor in your own movie. What would you do? What would happen? What would someone say? What would that person do? What would this person do? And just have fun with it. And whatever you write out that you carry little to no resistance around must happen. So just get excited about starting to notice when you write it out, how you'll be in a conversation with someone and they'll say exactly the thing that you just wrote out. Or you'll get a DM from somebody and it's your perfect client that you just wrote about, and just start to have fun with it. Like I like to just kind of, this is coming from such a recovering former control freak. So if you guys are watching this and you're like, oh, but I need to control it all and it can't be fun. It can. And the more fun you let it be and the more resistance you release around it, the easier it gets to be and the more the stuff comes in faster. But just have fun with it. So I like to kind of play with the universe and just play and have fun with it and be like, okay, well, let's just write this out and then let's see what happens. Let's just see what happens and let's see how it comes in. Because when you match that frequency of your desires, so when you get clear on what you want and you script it out and then you start to think the thoughts of the person who has those things and feel the feelings, feel the gratitude of the things, it must be that or something better. It is how it works. It must be that, or I'm like holding this thing like a pulpit. Oh my gosh, guys, chill. It must be that or something better for you. It has to be. Now, again, we can get kinked up on the timeline. So you got to release your attachment to the deadline a little bit. You're just guessing with the deadline. And here's the thing to know that will hopefully be comforting to my people who are like, I want it now. God and the universe work fast. Like everything works pretty darn fast in nature. We're the only ones who actually slow it down. So usually the thing that you want could come in faster to you if you just drop the resistance to it. You're not in a punishing world. God's not there punishing you, making you like wait or suffer for what you want. And so again, this is where we have to start to rewire our conception of like God, of money, which usually that gets wired in when we're children, whatever our parents taught us about receiving or about our worthiness will tend to play itself back out with money later on. Okay. So just, just know, like, this was a big part of my healing journey around allowing myself to feel worthy of receiving what I wanted and receiving it fast, was deciding that I was going to create my own relationship with God and with money and create my own rules there. So anyway, again, kind of taking a detour there, but it gets to happen fast for you, and the thing you want will typically come in way faster than you think it's going to take. When you drop the resistance, the only thing that delays it is the self-doubt, the limiting beliefs, the resistance. But again, if we can just drop our attachment to the deadline, like when I set goals, I typically am doing like a 90-day goal. So the target that my personal goal is double the amount of money I'm bringing in right now, but working 10 hours a week or less, because I really, really care a lot about spending more time with my son right now. So I set a 90-day target on it. I don't know, I think it could actually happen faster with the right team, but if it takes a little bit longer, that's okay too, because that just means that the seed needed a longer germination period, but you don't give up the goal. You don't give it up. If you need to adjust the date, you adjust the date. But that's where we can, especially if you relate to me, like as someone who maybe feels like or felt like you had to control everything, if we could put pressure on ourselves by saying it has to happen by this date, I want you to release that, because that, when you think about it that way, right? So just kind of check in with yourself. If you're thinking about what you want and you've got this date on it and you're like, oh my gosh, it has to happen by this date or else, how do you feel in your body? You probably feel suddenly like you're in a lower emotional state. And again, if you're joining live right now and you're brand new, welcome. We're talking about how to release resistance to what you want. And the companion guide that I'm referencing right now that goes with this series is elisearcher.com/resistance. So go download that for free. But you'll notice when you get really attached to the deadline, it'll probably put you in one of those lower emotional states. So if we can release that and say, here's what I'm shooting for. I think this is how long it might take. Like, it feels stretchy. It feels like, I don't know how it's going to happen, which is okay. You don't need to know how. But if it starts to put you into panic and you start to get really kinked up about the deadline, like, release the attachment to the deadline. We're excited about it happening by this date. We're feeling relaxed about it happening by this date. And if it doesn't happen by this date, if it wants to happen sooner or a little bit later, that's okay too. Okay? So that is my PSA for my control freaks out there. The other thing, and we're about done for tonight, but a couple key things just as we close out, and then please, if you have comments or questions, pop them in now, because I want to turn it over for questions. Fahey, is that you? Oh my gosh, if this is Fahey, I'm like thrilled that you're here, and I love you, and it's been decades. Makes me feel old, but I hope that's you. And if it's not, welcome, whoever you are. Makia, welcome. Greg, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. So, okay, here's one thing that they say that I think is really helpful to remember. If you are in harmony with your desire, you will know it because your desire is already a physical reality. So again, this is like we talked about at the beginning of this series, if there's anything you've been going for any amount of time and it hasn't happened for you yet, all it means is you've got some resistance to it. As counterintuitive as that seems, what it means is that there's some sort of limiting belief, some sort of programming that you can't have it, you're not worthy of it, it's too big for you, whatever, which manifests as resistance. And you know you're having resistance because when you think about the thing you want, you feel doubt, stress, uncertainty, insecurity, anxiety, overwhelm, any of the negative lower level vibrations, okay? So, but what it says is if what you want hasn't become your physical reality yet, scripting is a really good way to speed it up into becoming your physical reality. Because again, you're creating more specifics and you're giving your subconscious and the universe more specifics to help you bring it in faster. But again, the key is just you do this process when you're feeling pretty good. So you do this when you're between a number 2, passion, and when you're between a number 6, hopefulness. So the other thing that is so important, and this is where you will start to feel perhaps a little bit loony, as if you haven't already felt loony, get ready to really feel loony as you use these processes. This is going to help you break the habit of talking about things as they are and help you begin talking about things as you want them to be. This is critical. This is key. This is so important. The reason things stay the same for you is you keep talking about how they are right now. So the way Abraham Hicks would say it, and there's different ways to say it, the way Abraham Hicks would say it is, you keep offering your vibration in response to what's happening for you outside of you. So you watch the news, which is going to be terrible because it's the news, and you let that create fear in your body. You let that create anxiety. You let that create scarcity. And then what do you put out more of? You are now a vibrational match to fear, anxiety, scarcity. So you get more of that. 10% battery on the phone. Okay, we're going nitro mode. We're going fast now. So you get more of that, okay? Because you are now a vibrational match to it because you're talking about it, thinking about it, feeling it. So when you want to shift your reality, there will be a time period where you are talking about it and feeling it and thinking about it in a way that does not match the physical reality yet. Because you're always creating twice, once here and once in your outer world. Everything in your outer world is a reflection of your thinking and your feelings up until this point. That is it. You are in full control, okay? So there's zero room for victim mode here. I don't care. We've all had hard life stuff. I honor your journey, but you got to shift it to, if you really want to create a change, you got to move out of victim mode. You got to start moving into empowered creator mode with what you want. So there is a period of time where you are going to need to talk about your reality, the reality you want to create, as if it has already happened. And this is where you may want to be very just conscious of who you talk to. And you can DM me, like send me a long DM about your reality, as you want it, if it hasn't happened yet, and I'll know what you're doing, and I'm totally here for it. Like, I love it. Do it. So, but this, like, before I had started to experience some of the fun manifestations in my own life, I would lay in bed with my husband at night and I would say, babe, let's just talk about what it's like when I have $100,000 month. Like, let's just talk about it. Your sister, like, girl had never she hadn't had more than a $20,000 month. But I was like, let's just talk about it. What is it going to be? What would we do? What would we buy first? What would happen? How would we feel? Let's just talk about it. Because I was feeling good. I would only bring it up when I was feeling good. And I would want to get specific about it. And we would be like, oh, well, we would do this and we would do that. And I would be like, oh, I'm going to take you on a clothing shopping spree. And I want to, buy you some new clothes and stuff because you've supported me so much and yada, yada. And we would talk about it like it had already happened. So again, there's the science and there's the spiritual of this, and you can take it either way you want. I find that science and spirituality are really the same, just different languages. And it's so fun to dissect this stuff. But whatever you describe, you prescribe. So whatever you describe, whatever you say out loud after what follows the words I am, it is a direct command to your subconscious to go about making that thing a reality, which is why we do affirmations. Now, the part that most people miss, at least that I used to miss a lot on affirmations, is you also must feel the feeling of the thing you want. So Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about clear intention with an elevated emotion. That's how you match the frequency of what you want. That's how you do it. You must have both. So you can't just say, I'm a millionaire, 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 and then feel that you're not, because your feeling is actually your vibrational point of attraction. So you must have a clear thought, which is why we want to get specific, which is where this process tonight of scripting comes into play. And then that elevated emotion is what gets you on the frequency of the thing. Is this making sense? So let me know in the comments if you guys have questions on this. I feel like I kind of talk about this from all different angles, but I keep thinking about it a little bit differently. So hopefully this helps. But coming back to that, like talking about the thing, laying in bed, talking about the thing, we got in a lot of detail about it. And we only talked about it when we felt good. And we didn't feel good about it all the time, but we felt good about it enough of the time that when your desire outweighs the self-doubt, it must come in. The doubt just delays it. The doubt just pushes it off a little bit. But the more you can do this, the more resistance you can release, the less resistance you have, the faster it'll come in. So that's what it is. But we talked about it when we were feeling good. We got specific about it when we were feeling good. And then it came in. And it came in faster and easier than I expected it to. So again, we are the ones that slow it down. God and the universe want your inner being too. So I'm going to just use the language that works for me here, but use the language that works for you. But your inner being, like source, consciousness, awareness, the part of you that isn't your thoughts, but is here having that human experience, that full expression of life, it wants it. Like it's already, it is wired for it. It wants it faster and more than you want it. And in fact, what Abraham Hicks says is the moment you ask, your inner being is already there. Like it's already done. It's already happening. And now it's inviting you to catch up with it. So this is where we can get into the quantum physics of it, and that there's actually no time and everything is actually happening all at once. And that's another, that's another live for another night. Okay. Makia saying makes lots of sense. Thank you. I'm glad it makes sense. And please, guys, if this is like, this is not the stuff that we talk about every day in our normal business coaching. So if it doesn't make sense, like give me a question, pop a comment, give me a question. Allison, welcome. How are you? I hope you enjoyed your walk this afternoon. I'm so glad you're here. Megan is saying letting go of control is so freeing and affords us more energy to enjoy what's most important. Yes, yes, yes. And Megan, I don't know you well enough yet to know, but were you like a control freak at any point in your life? If you're still here, because I was such a control freak. A lot of my people are like former control freaks. And it's so counterintuitive, but honestly, guys, the more we can release the need to control it, that need to control, you're blocking it. You're blocking it, you're blocking it, you're blocking it. The only thing you need to control is your inner state. And if you are trying to manipulate the situation outside of you, it means that there's some part of you inside that doesn't feel in control. It's saying yes, yeah. And so when we learn that like the only part we need to manage is the inner state, and that your outer world is a direct reflection of your inner state. And when you can learn to manage the inner state first by using processes like this, like what we're talking about, your outer world reflects it. So what you want to think about is, what do I want my outer world to be? Do I want it to be like, what do I want? It's peace, tranquility, relaxation, money flowing easily, fun flowing easily, like all the like relationships, peak experiences. Well, what's the inner state? What are the thoughts and feelings I would have when that thing happens? And you start thinking and feeling those, and it's just a matter of time. It must happen. But your job is to stay in alignment, in vibrational alignment with that thing. That's it. It gets to be so much easier than we make it. It gets to be so much easier than we make it. And when you learn, what I would look at, here's what I would look at if you're at all skeptical about what I'm saying is, are you living heaven on earth right now? Are you living heaven on earth for you right now? Or are you not? Because if you're not, then there's something about your thinking and feeling that's holding you back from that, because you can literally create that now in this life experience. And anything that doesn't reflect that right now in your outer world is coming because you're not, there's something in here that's not a match to that. So when you think about creating, I don't know why heaven on earth is showing up tonight, but it is like, when you think about creating that, how does that feel to you? What are the thoughts you have? How does that feel? And what part of you right now is not in alignment with that? And then just start practicing it and playing with it and just experiment. Like, what if you just did an experiment and just tried this stuff like for 90 days and saw what happened? Bambi saying, I'm learning to let go of control. It isn't easy. Okay, Bambi, so I want you to watch your language there. When you say it isn't, like, you have to start noticing with this. And Bambi, that you are not alone in this, sister. So I say this with so much love. You have to start noticing when you say things that are limiting you. So when you say something like it isn't easy, or when you feel tempted to actually type that out, you have to stop, because that's what's blocking you. So that's your resistance, is that you think it's not easy, because it can be. It is. Like for somebody, like it can be easy for you. Okay. So you have to, when you're about to say something, this goes for all of you. Thank you, Bambi, so much for being an example here. And you absolutely agree. Yes. So thank you. So you have to start noticing if you're about to say something negative about how hard it is for you, or about anything, about the economy, about the news, about the pandemic, you have to stop, Because when you say something negative, when you focus on something negative, it lowers your vibration, which creates more resistance, which delays the time frame from the things you want to come in. It's actually super simple. So you must stop yourself in the tracks from saying something negative and thinking something negative too. Like saying it gives more power to it, but even thinking it, and it's just a shift. It's, oh yeah, I'm going there again. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Okay, stop it. Like stop yourself mid-sentence. Like when you're about to type out, it isn't, just stop it. Just stop typing it and replace it with, I love how easy this is. Okay. I love you so much, Bambi. You know I love you so much, but this is important because this is how you're going to create what you want. Jamie's saying, I like to say I'm not OCD about my life. I am CDO because I need that in alphabetical order. I love that. Yeah, and it's like, again, just an open-mindedness to what if it actually were easier than I thought, and really like paying attention with only listening to stuff like this, stuff like Abraham Hicks, stuff like Joe Dispenza, stuff like Bob Proctor. Like if you guys are looking for a quantum leap, if you're looking to lower resistance, the only thing, part of what creates resistance is ignorance of how this actually works. And I don't say ignorance like you're ignorant, but just like not knowing, because we're not taught this. You must start to re-educate yourself with how the world actually works, how universal laws work. And you can start to create that heaven on earth for yourself so fast. Bambi's saying, I am letting go of being in control. Yes, yes, I'm opening up to receiving because you don't have to control it. You do your part and nothing else. That's it. Jamie's saying, I'm learning to let go, even having fun. Yes, 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 that's it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Yes, girl, I see you singing in the car. Don't act like you haven't done it again. I know you have. The more singing in the car, the more dancing you do, the more you are at that frequency of that, like, a lot of money coming in, a lot of clients coming in, all the things coming in, but you must create it first. You must create it first. You cannot be dependent on those things outside of you for you to feel that way. You feel that way first, and then you become a match for it. And it happens so fast and so easy and so fun. It'll make your head spin. Okay. Just wait. And I love, Abraham Hicks says, like, when you do this stuff enough, then we're going to have a seminar for how to get rid of all the things that you manifested really fast that you don't even know what to do with. So David is saying, I'm excited to start watching my own movie. Yes, yes, yes. It's so much fun, right? Like, give even half that time you spend on other people's. So I would love for you to just stop watching other people's social media, except selfishly this. Like, I hope you will join for this, but I would love for you to just stop watching other people's stuff or Netflix or TV, just until you get what you want. And then you can go back to it, but you probably won't even want to go back to it because you'll notice like it actually lowers your vibration to watch that stuff, because it's designed to be, to create that emotional roller coaster. And that's actually not a great place to be when you want to create fast. Start watching your own movie. There's actually a cool app you can use called Mind Movies that helps you create your own movie. So check that out. I used that a while back and I enjoyed that. So that's also a fun way, like if you want to actually visualize your own movie coming together, it's really good. Okay. I think this is it. So again, you use this practice scripting when you're in a positive place and you want to get more momentum towards what you want to bring it in faster. That's when you use it. And then guys, oh my gosh, tomorrow night is so good. So if any of you feel like you're struggling with time management, with overwhelm, with not enough hours in the day, y'all, I've got a really cool process for you. And I've got a really cool story about how I used it a couple weeks ago, and really cool things happen. So join me tomorrow night at 8 Eastern. If you are enjoying this series and you want to come see it again and learn about time management in a totally different way than you've probably ever learned it, it's so fun and it freaking works. It's so good. Bambi, you're so welcome. I love seeing you here every night. This makes my heart so happy. I love you guys. Are there any final questions? I can't believe I talked a full hour about one process, but this stuff is good. And I just love the enthusiasm. Any questions, any comments, anything going once, going twice? Are we good? Are we feeling complete? DM me if you have other questions, or some of you guys have already said you did want me to let you know about when I'm going to do the workshop on how to turn your annual income into your monthly income. So I am going to be doing that sometime soon. If you already DM me and let me know you want information on that, I got your information. If you haven't DM'd me yet or you haven't heard about it yet, then DM me if you're curious, because I'm going to be hosting that soon and I would love to invite you. Thank you so much for the hearts. I love you guys. Makia, I'm so glad. It was great. It was so glad. So glad. So good to have you here tonight. I loved having you here. All right, guys, I think this is it. I will try to come to you tomorrow night without having squirted soap in my eye and without a bloody chin, but you never know. Mom life. All right. Love you guys. Wishing you a beautiful night. I'll see you tomorrow. All right. See you soon. Bye, guys. Have a great night.